SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, lingering risk. Over 100 persons leaving the Western Province have tested positive for COVID-19. Evolving situation. More changes to the isolated areas at 5 a.m. tomorrow. The pilot project. Bubble on the verge of bursting as tourists disregard health protocols. Repatriation efforts. 68,000 Sri Lankans waitlisted to be returned to the island. Difficult task made tougher. Injury-plagued Sri Lanka all out before tea on the first day of the second test against South Africa. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Sunday the 3rd of January 2021.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
And welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Ekanaika. Now, since the start of random rapid antigen tests on people leaving the Western Province, over 13,000 such tests have been conducted to identify persons with COVID-19. Those tests, however, have yielded over 100 positive results. The police now say that random rapid antigen tests will also be conducted at vegetable markets in the Western Province in the future as a means of expanding the identification process of COVID-19 infected.
3 fatalities were added to Sri Lanka's COVID-19 death toll last evening, taking the number to 211. One of the victims was a 93-year-old woman, with another being a 76-year-old man. The 93-year-old had reportedly died at her residence owing to multiple health complications and the COVID-19 virus. The 76-year-old meanwhile had died due to complications that had arisen from a kidney infection and COVID pneumonia. According to the Department of Government Information, the remaining victim's identity could not be verified and was found from within the Maradana Police Division. His cause of death was stated as COVID-19. In the meantime, 403 fresh coronavirus infections have been confirmed in the islands so far today. 213 of them have been attributed to the Paliagoda cluster, with 2 chalked down to the prisons cluster. Yesterday, the number of infections confirmed in the country was 515. However, unlike previous occasions, the Colombo district did not report the highest number of infections yesterday. Instead, it was the Gampar district that recorded the highest number of cases with 144. Among them are 5 cases from the Negombo prison and 71 infections from the Dalupoda prison. In the Colombo district, the number of cases confirmed yesterday stood at 47. In addition to this, 96 cases were confirmed from Kandy, 43 from Polonnaruwa, 33 from the districts of Matara and Kurunegala, while 31 infections were recorded from Ratnapura. The remaining 75 infections were confirmed across 11 other districts, while 13 Sri Lankan returnees also tested positive for COVID-19.
මේ වන විට සිදු කර ඇති මුළු රැපිඩ් ඇන්ටිජන් පරීක්ෂණ සංඛ්‍යාව 13029ක් පමණ වෙනවා. ඊයේ දිනේ කොවිඩ් ආසාදිත රෝගීන් 5 දෙනෙක් පමණ හඳුනා ගනු ලැබුවා. පසුගිය 18 වෙනිදා සිට මේ දක්වා කාලය තුල බස්නාහිර පළාතෙන් පිටවන ස්ථානවලදී කරන ලද රැපිඩ් ඇන්ටිජන් පරීක්ෂණ වලින් හඳුනාගත් මුළු කොවිඩ් ආසාදිතින්ගේ සංඛ්‍යාව 102ක් පමණ වෙනවා. මීට අමතරව බස්නාහිර පළාත ආශ්‍රිතව තිබෙන මාළු ලෑලිවල එහෙමත් නැත්නම් මාළු වෙළඳාම් කරන ස්ථානවල රැපිඩ් ඇන්ටිජන් පරීක්ෂණය සිදු කරනවා. මේ වන විට 157 දෙනෙක් රැපිඩ් ඇන්ටිජන් පරීක්ෂණ වලට ලක් කර තිබෙනවා. ඊයේ දිනේත් පෙරේදා දිනේත් මේ සියලු පරීක්ෂා මගින් 30 දෙනෙක් කොවිඩ් ආසාදිතයින් බවට හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම බස්නාහිර පළාත තුල පිහිටි එළවලු වෙළඳාම් කරන ස්ථාන, විවිධ තොග වෙළඳ ස්ථාන, පොළ මේ ස්ථානවල නිරන්තරයෙන් ඉදිරියේදී රැපිඩ් ඇන්ටිජන් පරීක්ෂණ සිදු කිරීමට නියමිතව තිබෙනවා.
All in all, 535 persons were discharged from hospitals today after recovering from COVID-19. It pushed Sri Lanka's tally of coronavirus recoveries up to 37,252, while bringing the number of active cases down to 7,123.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නීරෝගිමත් දිවියකට.
In the meantime, the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 announced today that the status of isolation will be lifted in several areas in the Colombo and Gampar districts from 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Chief of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19, Army Commander General Shavendra Silva announced today that the police areas of Modara in the Colombo district and the Gramanildara divisions of Halfsdorf East and Halfsdorf West, Wanathamulda and Demalavatta will be relieved of their isolation status at 5 a.m. tomorrow. A few Gramanildara divisions in the Gampar district, namely Paligodavatta, Megahavatta and the Rohana Vihara Road in the Pattiya North Gramanildara division will also be brought out of isolation at 5 a.m. tomorrow. In addition to this, entry and exit will be permitted in the areas of Nelligahavatta and Purnakotuvatta in Gangabada and the Sri Jayanti Road belonging to the Vilegoda North Gramanildara division. The police meanwhile urged people in areas under isolation to extend their fullest support to health authorities. Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana urged people to cooperate if health authorities request them to undergo PCR or rapid antigen tests.
Now, there was great optimism when a pilot project was launched to permit flights carrying tourists into the island. It was to be worked off, featuring what is known as a travel bio bubble. However, following the arrival of 3 batches of tourists into the island and their tours, the bubble seems to be on the verge of bursting. Tourists were seen disregarding health and safety protocols, and allegations are levelled at bypassing the mechanisms and entities incorporated into the bio bubble. The opposition even claimed that the bio bubble plan has been smashed to smithereens.
Sri Lanka opened up its airways for tourists and brought in tourists from Ukraine on 3 occasions to be managed under the travel biobubble concept. From the outset, the move was described as a pilot project. A travel bubble, in simple terms, is an agreement between 2 or more countries to open up their borders for travel while taking all necessary health and safety precautions set out by health authorities. Generally, these agreements are entered into between governments, confident that both sides are managing the virus well. Across 3 occasions starting from the 28th, a total of over 550 tourists arrived in the island and 6 persons among them tested positive for the COVID-19. 22 members of the first batch of tourists to arrive in the country, including children, had visited the Mirissa harbour yesterday for whale watching. As per the safety measures of the project, steps were taken to close the harbour for locals with the arrival of tourists. Army personnel and the Coast Guard were deployed for their protection. Former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Veeratunga, was also present at the location along with the tourists.
I feel myself in safety because all of staff in airport, in a hotel, in the excursion are in equipment. So they clean their hands and wear the masks. So I don't care about it, in this country especially.
Meanwhile, another group of 113 tourists joined a tour of the Yala National Park. During the tour, however, some tourists were seen without their masks. 28 safari jeep drivers who travelled with the touring party were taken for a 14-day mandatory quarantine. The matter was also discussed by several factions.
යුක්‍රේන ජාතික සංචාරකයන් කණ්ඩායම් කිහිපයක්ම මේ රටට පැමිණියා. ඔය පැමිණෙන පිරිස අතරත් අපි COVID-19 රෝගීන් හඳුනාගත්තා. ඔවුන් ආවේ මේ රටට ආවේ ඔවුන්ගේ රටේදී COVID-19 පිළිබඳව PCR පරීක්ෂණ සිදු කර එහි COVID-19 ආසාදනය නැහැ කියන සහතිකයත් එක්ක ඊට පස්සේ මේ රටට පැමිණි වහාම සිදු කරපු PCR පරීක්ෂණයේදී අපි හඳුනාගත්තා ඔවුන් අතර රෝගීන් ඉන්නවයි කියලා. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි මේ වෛරසයේ යථාර්ථය. එක දවසක් PCR පරීක්ෂණය කරද්දී ආසාදනය තිබුණා තිබුණත් වෛරසය ශරීරයෙන් පිට වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් PCR පරීක්ෂණය වෛරස ආසාදනයක් නැහැ කියලා එන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් ඊට දවස් කිහිපයකට පස්සේ කරනකොට නැවතත් ඒක ආසාදනය තියෙනවා කියලා එන්න පුළුවන්.
දැන් ටුවරිස්ට් බෝඩ් එකෙන් කියලා තියෙනවා මේ ෆුල් PPE නැතුව කිසිම සංචාරකයෙක් හම්බ වෙන්න කාටවත් හැකියාවක් නැහැ කියලා. අපි දකිනවා පත්තරවල වෙබ්සයිට් වල ටීවී එකේ හැමතැනම පින්තූර යනවා උදයන්ග වීරතුංග ෆේස් මාස්ක් එකක්වත් නැහැ. බයෝ බබල් එක කැලේ. යාළ එහෙම යනකොට ඒ ජීප් ඒ බයෝ බබල් එකේ ඉන්න කට්ටියට පමණයි මේ කට්ටියට හයර් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒවා ඒ කට්ටියව ලයිසන් කරලා ඒ කට්ටියට සැනිටයිස් කරලා ඒ කට්ටියට මේ හෙල්ත් ගයිඩ්ලයින් කියලා ඒ කට්ටිය අර ටෙස්ට් පාස් වෙලා ඒ කට්ටිය බලන් ඉන්නවා යන්න දැන් මේ යුක්‍රේන් ටුවරිස්ට්ලත් එක්ක වෙන ඔය ගිහලා තියෙන. වෙන ජීප් වල ගිහලා තියෙන. සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම අර තිබිච්ච ප්ලෑන් එක කුඩු පට්ටම් වෙලා ගිහිල්ලා. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට ආරංචි වෙනවා හෝටල් වලට බල කරලා ඔවුන්ගේ මිල පහත දාලා මහ විශාල මේ වෙනස් කිරීමක් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට දවස් 14ක් ඉන්න ඕනේ හැමෝම නිරෝධායනේ. හැබැයි මේ කට්ටිය ඉන්නේ දවස් 7යි. එතකොට එක රටක් එක නීතියක්ද? රජය විසින් සම්මත කරලා තියෙන ක්‍රමවේදයට අනුව මේ සංචාරකයෝ ලංකාවට ගේන්න බැරි නම් ගේන්න එපා. ෆ්ලයිට් 12ක් එනවා මේ කට්ටියගෙන්. මේ ෆ්ලයිට් 12න් තාම ෆ්ලයිට් 3යි ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. තව ෆ්ලයිට් 9ක් එන්න තියෙනවා. කරුණාකරලා ඊළඟ ෆ්ලයිට් 9වත් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටුවරිසම් එකේ සම්මත කරලා තියෙන ක්‍රමවේදයට ගේන්න කියලා අපි රජයට කියනවා.
Moving on with the other stories, the Foreign Ministry says that an estimated 68,000 Sri Lankans are waitlisted to be returned to the island. It adds that since the evacuation of 33 students from the city of Wuhan in China last year, the ministry has repatriated close to 60,500 Sri Lankans from 137 countries. 40,000 of them are said to be migrant workers, predominantly from the Middle East region, while a further 20,000 Sri Lankans had been flown back from the likes of Asia, Europe and the Americas.
The Foreign Ministry says that it had endured insurmountable challenges overseas amid lockdowns, isolations, curfews and closure of airspace when ensuring the swift return of Sri Lankans who are in distress. Since the evacuation of 33 students from Wuhan city, the ministry says that it has been carrying out the task of repatriation for almost a year now, and to date, 60,470 Sri Lankans, composed of pilgrims, students, officials of government or armed forces, migrant workers, short-term visitors, seafarers and cases on compassionate grounds have been repatriated from 137 countries through the Sri Lanka missions overseas. Over 40,000 migrant workers, predominantly from the Middle East region, have been the top segment of overseas workers who have benefited so far, whereas another 20,000 Sri Lankans have been brought down from Europe, Africa, Asia and Latin American regions. The Foreign Ministry says that as the conditions abroad deteriorate and due to the large number of layoffs and other causes of unemployment, the number of prospective returnees keep rising, and currently an estimated 68,000 overseas Sri Lankans from various regions have been waitlisted by the Ministry of Repatriation. Foreign Secretary Admiral Jayannath Columbage has said that the latest fortnightly schedule of flights finalized to be operated between 2nd to 9th January 2021 will include 1,400 passengers from Chennai, Melbourne, Kuwait, Doha, Canada, Cyprus and Dubai. The Foreign Ministry notes that it, along with Sri Lanka foreign missions, are in talks with friendly nations, UN agencies and regional organizations, and have secured as grants and donations large consignments of test kits and other equipment, sparing the government from huge expense. It added that the missions are also closely following the developments with regard to manufacturing of vaccines and serving as a conduit of vital and timely information on the feasibilities of sourcing the vaccine from foreign governments. It goes on to say that as measures of immediate relief, it airlifted over 10,000 packs of dry rations and indigenous medicines to Male, Dubai and Doha first time in the history of Sri Lanka, and has given around 80 million rupees so far for the sustenance of Sri Lankan communities overseas. The funds had been intended for supplying basic medicine, testing, tempo accommodation, protective gears, internal transportation and in some cases, the air tickets.
founding Secretary General of the UK's biggest Muslim umbrella group, the Muslim Council of Britain, Iqbal Sakrani, has labelled the Sri Lankan government's decision of compulsory cremation of the island's COVID-19 dead a collective punishment given to the Muslim community for political reasons. Now, speaking to a Turkish media outlet, he said that cremation goes against the principle of Abrahamic faiths, which include Muslims, Christians and Jews, and that they have been directed that dead bodies should be buried. Sakrani has said that the Muslim Council of Britain has been in touch with more than 20 countries, with different heads of states, departments and ministers of foreign affairs, and all of them have started putting pressure on the Sri Lankan government. He said that they have received support on the matter from South Africa, Botswana, Malawi, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia and Indonesia so far, and it's a matter of time. Sakrani was also quoted saying, "We do not want this dangerous precedent to be established by Sri Lanka, and if Sri Lanka gets away with this action, then there are other countries who, for political reasons, can impose similar actions." We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the President's Media Division says that Venerable Wethanne Sumanathera, who was sentenced to life imprisonment, has been granted a presidential pardon. Reportedly, the President has sent the notice regarding the pardon to the Ministry of Justice. In June 2020, Wethanne Sumanathera was sentenced to life over possession of several firearms, including T-56 rifles, during the presidential election in 2010. Few days prior to the election, 2 T-56 assault rifles, 50 hand grenades and 210 live ammunition rounds were taken into custody from the Maligavatta Bodhirajarama temple premises. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, the All Ceylon Indigenous Medical Association urges the government to relax the existing laws on cannabis in line with the United Nations move to remove cannabis from the list of harmful drugs. Addressing a media briefing held in Colombo today, the association stressed that steps should be taken to strengthen the economy by legalizing cannabis-related products, including medical drugs.
The Ayurvedic tradition recognizes cannabis, known as Vijay in Sanskrit, as a medicinal herb. Considering from a health perspective, it is also gaining more and more popularity day by day as a medicinal substance. However, it is only ever recommended in minuscule doses and always in combination with other herbs to balance various other effects of cannabis. The use of cannabis in Sri Lanka was banned during the British rule in order to promote tobacco cultivation and smoking.
1929 ත්‍රායකාර ඖෂධ පිළිබඳ ආඥා පනත නොව කංස කියලා කියන්නේ කිසිම ආකාරයකින් භාවිතයට ගත නොහැකි ආකාරයෙන් සීමා පනවලා තියෙන ද්‍රව්‍යයක්. දැන් පසුගිය දෙසැම්බර් 2 වෙනිදා එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ සංවිධානය කංසා අවදානම් සහිත මත්ද්‍රව්‍යයක් කියන ලේබලය ගලවලා දැම්මා. එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ සංවිධානය මේ තීරණයට එන්නේ නිකන් නෙවෙයි. මේකට නිර්දේශයක් හම්බ වෙනවා ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය. ඖෂධීය ගුණය ගැන සලකලා. දැන් අපේ ගැටලුව තියෙන්නේ මේ වගේ නිර්දේශයක් තියෙද්දි අපි
At present, many developed countries in the world use cannabis to make various products, including medicine, by relaxing laws related to cannabis. It is a plant that is high in tetrahydrocannabinol, also known as THC, which causes mental stimulation. Indigenous medical practitioners say that its nutritional value can even eliminate malnutrition.
කංස ඇට කියලා කියන්නේ ලෝකයේ ඉතාම පෝෂ්‍යදායී ආහාරයක්. මේන් විවිධ නිෂ්පාදන වෙළඳපොළට එනවා. ඒ වගේම කංස තෙල් hemp oil කියන එක, CBD කියන එක. මේක විවිධ ලෙඩ රෝග සුවපත් කරන සෞඛ්‍ය සම්පන්න භාවය ඇති කරන ඖෂධයක් හැටියට මිලදී ගැනීමට ෆාමසි වල තියෙනවා රටවල. ලෝකයේ ඉතාමත්ම ශක්තිමත්ම තන්තු නිෂ්පාදනය කරන්නේ කංසකෙන්ද. ඒ නිසා කංස කියලා කියන්නේ ආර්ථික භෝගයක් හැටියට වවන්න පුළුවන් ඉතාම හොඳ වැදගත් ආකාරයේ ප්‍රතිලාභ ගෙන දෙන ශාකයක්. විශේෂයෙන් ස්නායුගත රෝග, ඇල්සයිමර්ස් වගේ රෝග, පාකින්සන් වගේ රෝග, පිළිකාවට යොදන විවිධාකාර ප්‍රතිකාර මේ ආදී වශයෙන් නොයෙක් අපිට පුළුල් පරාශයක ඖෂධ ගැන කතා කරන්නට පුළුවන්.
ඒ රටේ ප්‍රෝටීන් කැලරි කියන මන්ද පෝෂණ තත්ත්වය නැති කරන්න හොඳම දේ තමයි කන්සර්ට්. අක්ෂරයකින් ටොන් 2ක් හම්බ වෙනවා. මාස 3යි කාලේ. වැඩිම පේටන්ට් හම්බෙලා තියෙන්නේ කංශ පෙළ හැටියට. 603ක් තියෙනවා. එයින් 300ක්ම චීනි අරන් තියෙනවා. ඒකටත් වඩා යුරෝපියනුත් දැන් මාස ගන්නවා අපිටත් එවන්න කංශ. කංශ නීති කියන්නේ ඇත්තෙන්ම ඇමරිකාවේ බලවත්කම රැක ගන්න එක. අපේ තියෙන එකම දේ කංශ මේ රටේ වවන්න ඕනේ. මේක දේශීය විදකමේ තියෙනවා. දේශීය වෛද්‍යවරුන්ට අයිති දෙයක්. ලෝකයේ අයිති අපිට දීලා තියෙනවා. අපේ උරුමයක් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
The Old Ceylon Indigenous Medical Association says the existing laws on cannabis should be amended immediately.
සන්නි කපාල ගුලිය, කෝල සන්නවටිය, සෝසනාරි කල්කේ වගේ විශේෂ ඖෂධ වර්ග ගණනාවක් නිෂ්පාදනය සඳහා මේ කංශ අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. නමුත් අවාසනාවට පහුගිය කාල සීමාව තුළ, ඒ කියන්නේ මේ අවුරුදු 150ක විතර කාල සීමාව තුළ අපිට දැඩි ලෙස මේක පාලනයට ලක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. 2000න් පස්සේ අපිට අපේ ආයුර්වේද දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවක් ඇති කරගන්න. ඕන්ට හැකියාව තියෙන්න ඕනේ අපේ මේ විශේෂ ඖෂධය මේ වැරදි තහනමෙන් මුදාගෙන ඉස්සරහට ගේන්න. නමුත් මේ තුළ ඒක සිද්ධ වුණේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒ කාරණය තුළ මුළු මහත් ජාත්‍යන්තරයේම නැවත කංසා තහනම මානව ඉතිහාසයේ කරගත්ත ලොකු වැරදීමක් විය හැකි කියන තැන ඉඳන් ආපහු වෙනස් වෙමින් තියෙනවා. අන්තරායකාර ඖෂධ පාලක මණ්ඩලය ඒ නිලධාරීන් විසින් දැඩි ලෙස කියා සිටිනවා කංසා තහනම කිසිසේත් ලීල් කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. ඕන්ට එහෙම කරන්න අයිතියක් තියනවාද? එහෙම අයිතියක් නැහැ. නිසා කොමිෂන් සභාවක් හරි පච්චරලා පූර්ණ විද්වත් සාකච්ඡාවකට එළඹෙන්න එළඹිලා අවසාන ප්‍රගමනයේ ජනතාවගේ රටේ යහපත උදෙසා යොදා ගන්න.
Now, Head of Research at First Capital, Dimantha Matthew, offers hope for the markets in 2021 as he says that renewed interest in the blue chip counters and positive sentiment from 2020 will carry on into the new year. Now, he also says that despite the high volatility seen in the markets in 2020, the year-to-date returns in the 2020 has ended on a positive note.
Looking back at 2020, we've actually experienced significant amount of volatility in the market. So the index started around the 6,150 mark with a significant decline in the index towards May, and then with COVID-19 and the lower interest rate environment, we saw a sizable bounce back in the market. So with that bounce back, the market has had significant gains from May, and the year-to-date 2020 returns have become positive as well. So during 2020, the market has experienced a 10.5% gain in the SPI. Now looking at 2021, with the continued low interest rate environment, we feel that the market outlook is likely to continue to remain positive, and there is a likelihood that the market can move up to a range of 7,000 to 7,500 on valuations, looking at a PE of 14 to 14.5 times. With that, the upcoming weeks are likely to be positive with the significant activity levels that in the stock market there has been renewed buying interest that has come into especially the blue chip counter. So that is going to be a sizable difference in 2021 as against 2020, where there was more or less of a mid cap and small cap rally. We are likely to see a more of a blue chip counters rally during 2021.
Now, politicians, militia leaders and average citizens gathered at the site of the killing of top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani and Iraq militia leader Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis in an event leading up to the anniversary of their deaths. The two were killed by a drone strike in Iraq on the 3rd of January last year, with Washington accusing Soleimani of masterminding attacks by Iranian-aligned militias on US forces in the region. Dozens gathered late on yesterday at the street-turned memorial ground, fixed with banners of Soleimani and al-Muhandis, as well as others killed in the attack, and with the vehicles destroyed from the strike placed in the center. Some mourners lit candles during a small vigil for those wishing to pay their respects, while others stuck messages on walls. Iraq has organized several events spanning the entire week to mark the one-year passing of their deaths. Now, with Australia's New South Wales being the worst hit state in the country, wearing face masks indoors will become compulsory in the country from tomorrow. In the meantime, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom said that it will have 530,000 vaccine doses of Oxford's AstraZeneca and hopes to administer tens of thousands of the vaccine over the next 3 months.
The head of India's drug regulator has given final approval for the emergency use of 2 coronavirus vaccines, one developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University and the other by local company Bharat BioNTech. The overall efficacy of the AstraZeneca-Oxford vaccine was 70.42%, while Bharat Biotech's Covaxin was safe and provides a robust immune response. The British-developed AstraZeneca-Oxford shot is made locally by the Serum Institute of India, while Bharat Biotech has teamed up with government-run Indian Council of Medical Research. In other developments, Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that Britain will have 530,000 doses of Oxford's AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine ready to administer in hopes of providing tens of millions of vaccinations over the next 3 months. Prime Minister Johnson said that schools were safe and advised parents to send their children in areas where rules allow it. He said the government might need to consider tightening lockdown restrictions but declined to give examples of what that might look like. In the meantime, Australia's New South Wales state reported 8 new COVID-19 cases today. Wearing face masks was made mandatory for indoor settings in the country's largest city of Sydney. It would be compulsory to wear face masks in venues like gaming rooms, hair salons, places of worship and shops. They will be legally enforced from midnight Australian time with a $200 Australian fine for offenders starting from tomorrow. Australia has avoided the worst of the pandemic following swift action taken by authorities to shut borders, enforce lockdowns, and carry out widespread testing and social distancing.
The Sri Lankan batting lineup collapsed during the first day of the second test match with South Africa today. Being all out for 157 runs before tea made the visitors' already tough task due to a long list of injuries even tougher. South Africa ended the day on 148 runs for the loss of 1 wicket, 9 runs behind Sri Lanka's rather small first innings tally.
The Sri Lankan team found themselves all out before tea on the first day of the second test match against South Africa in Johannesburg today. The visitors are plagued with injuries and were forced to make 4 changes to the side that took the field in the first test. Batsman Dhananjay De Silva and Dinesh Chandimal and fast bowlers Kasun Rajitha and Lahiru Kumara were all ruled out of action. They were replaced by Lahiru Thirimanne, Minod Bhanukar, Dushmantha Chamira and Asitha Fernando, with Bhanukar and Fernando making debuts. The toss went the way of the Sri Lankan captain Dimuth Karunaratne and he decided to bat first. Soon he found himself back in the pavilion for 2 runs. Fellow opener Kusal Janit Pereira played an aggressive knock and was out for 60 of 76 deliveries. By lunch, Sri Lanka had lost 5 wickets for 85 runs. And before tea, they were all out for 157 runs. Anrik Nokia was the star with the ball for the Proteas as he bagged 6 Sri Lankan wickets. Meanwhile, South Africa had a much better time with the bat. Their opener Dean Elgar posted another half-century to help the side end the day on 148 runs for the loss of 1 wicket. Tomorrow is the second day of the match.
Now staying with cricket, England cricket team arrived in the island today for a 2-test series. British Airways flight BA 9110 landed at the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport with a group of 44, including the players. Upon their arrival, they were subjected to rapid antigen tests and all the test results returned negative. Both scheduled test matches will be played at the Galle International Stadium. The first will get underway on the 14th, while the second will kick off on the 22nd. In the meantime, Sri Lanka Cricket confirmed today that one of its employees tested positive for COVID-19. The local cricket governing body said that the relevant employee has been isolated with immediate effect. SLC said that it also took steps to immediately isolate the direct contacts of the infected employee and also has carried out PCR tests of the same today. The group had also been subjected to antigen tests and the results had returned negative. SLC said that the infected employee was found to be COVID-19 positive following a PCR test conducted yesterday. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.